Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Jay and Thomas podcast, episode 2, The Future, and see what's going on. Dad, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Is that the I'm the past and you're the present? Is that what that is?
Actually, this is more so based on the topic you wanted to cover, which the very first one is, where is the country headed through the eyes of a millennial? So
Yes.
that's kind of where we were going. So you asked, where is the country headed through the eyes of a millennial? Well, it's an interesting premise because one of the questions I would pose is, why wonder through the eyes of a millennial and not through Gen X, Z, going WXYZ every other generation. And I know it's probably pointed more towards myself because I am a millennial. Hashtag millennials, and it's it's a good question to pose. I wrote down some things on it, and when you say, where's the country headed, well, we kind of need to make the distinction. Are we talking about Ecuador or the United States? I'm under the assumption you mean the United States of America.
Correct.
Right. So, just wanted to make sure we're on the same page because if we were talking about Ecuador, I would have no idea other than you talking about it being lockdowns and potentially chaotic due to a shift in proverbial regimes. So, where are we headed? Well, one of the things that we're heading towards, I think we're restructuring in many ways based on our thoughts and ideals. I want to say that several things in the past, or what people perceived were in the past, are going to either rear their ugly head, like the history of this country in many ways, for better or for worse. Darker times are being brought up now, and it's something where I'm not sure if it's a good thing or if it's something that will just add to the trepidation of the people right now. And we're always trying to come together. That's really trying to be the goal of a country, right? Is to come together as one people and be the best we can possibly be. And with the way that things are going right now, it seems more difficult because it seems like the division is just becoming greater and greater. So another point to that is the camera's always on, right?
Right.
There was a documentary recently of Michael Jordan, and he was, he basically like was royalty all the time, and he was, I believe, in his hotel room, and this was something I think it's on a Netflix documentary, and he's sitting in his hotel room, and his buddy who drives him around and stuff like that says, why don't you want to go out on the town, because you basically own the city, because I think this was like right after they won a championship. And he said that when he's in his hotel room, the cameras aren't on, right? So he was just trying to find time where he didn't have to put on the show, right? Where to a lot of younger people now, the camera's always on, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever platforms you want to get on, and whatever message you want to send, the camera could always be going. It's
Right.
something like myself. I'm trying to start streaming on Twitch. What is it? Twitch.com/Shuma a shameless plug there. And, we're just trying to get our message out or have some of the proverbial spotlight where I don't know if everyone should have it. And a lot of people are, I don't want to say misinformed, because it just really depends on your point of view in a lot of ways. But um, there's a book out right now that says basically to exit all forms of social media because of what it's doing. It's basically programming our brains to do some kind of crazy things when you read the book. Um, we actually discussed this at work a little bit ago, where we were talking about our cell phones, and the first thing we do in the morning is we get on our phone, and that's a very it seems as though it's a very bad habit to do, because that like at that time, right in between, like, fully asleep and being awake, um, it's a very influential time, right, where you can be programmed to do kind of certain things, and it's pretty wild. The technology is getting crazier and crazier every day. It's getting smaller. It's getting a little more intrusive. The uh, what is it? Jared Lanier, I think is his name. Talks in great length about how technology and algorithms and stuff like that are altering how we function as people, which is kind of scary. It's something where he's another big proponent of escaping social media as well, and it's kind of interesting. You know what I'm saying?
I understand. Yeah, the problem, the well, the issue is even though the cameras are rolling, they the media acts like that you didn't see what you saw, so to speak. Um,
Okay.
in some instances, and it's like I know what I saw. Oh, not really. Like, not don't watch this hand. While this other hand's doing something else,
Sure.
and it's really frustrating. It's really refreshing to be here
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have to check the media because I don't care. When it comes to, I have one of the local channels, Channel 4. I have the app on my iPad. And when I used to go to Texas in the mornings, I would check and look at the weather to see what the weather was going to be coming back,
Mm-hmm.
from Texas into Tennessee. But now I don't have to look anymore because it doesn't matter what the weather's going to be or what the traffic's going to be. I did see where there was a tornado day before yesterday in the morning time. So,
Yeah, it got a little scurry up here. Had people texting me and stuff, and texting those around me and whatnot. Luckily, and knock on wood, where everybody's safe and sound. But I slept, basically right on through it. So that's just the kind of
well, we had
luck
a,
I'm having. So.
speaking of bad weather, this morning at 2:02,
Mm-hmm.
4.9 on the Richter scale earthquake,
Oh wow.
uh, 15 miles, 18 miles out of the city I live in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Holy
I slept
smokes.
right through it.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't feel the earth move under my feet. That's for sure.
I was gonna say you probably just thought that the bed was like one of those motel beds that go, and
Yeah, yeah. Put a quarter in it, it starts vibrating.
that's it. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
The dogs were restless though. I think they knew something was up because the
Yeah.
dogs were restless and something was shaky. But
Hmm.
being on the west coast of the
Mm.
South American continent,
Yeah.
we don't get tsunamis and hurricanes and all the tidal waves and all that kind of stuff that they get
Hmm.
on the East Coast or coming in out of Florida or the Gulf, things like that. We get California, Washington State, Oregon
Mm-hmm.
weather, which is mostly rain, and that's all they get really down here.
I was
So
gonna say you need to start researching why that is, and why on that half of the hemisphere, on that side of South America, why aren't there the same sorts of ecological events as there are on the northern hemisphere, on the eastern side of the U.S. That'd be kind of an interesting thing to figure out. I'm
well,
wondering if it has something to do with the tectonic plates, underneath the
I'm,
oceans.
I'm sure the axis of the Earth or whatever. I got a buddy and he moved about 3 weeks ago to the Dominican Republic.
Oh, okay, cool.
And we stay in touch. And he said, there's only a mountain range that separates the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and that's
Oh,
usually what
hmm.
will help quell the bad weather before
Sure,
it gets
sure.
to the Dominican Republic. So,
That makes
you
sense.
know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Huh. I can understand
yeah,
that.
it's kind of a culture shock over there for him too. So,
I have no doubt everyone's making their moves.
in the uh, area are coming into the United States because Joe invited them, and they're putting them on buses and shipping them all over the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So, how is your generation who is going to how is your generation going to deal with all these extra people that are coming in from the Latin America, South America, whatever you call that area down there, middle America? Yeah.
Well, how are we going to deal with immigrants? I would say it would be the same way that we've dealt with that sort of population for as long as we have before. You
Okay,
know what I mean?
now
Um, it's going to be a scenario where you're like, hey, it the policies are going to dictate how things function, and then we're going to roll with it because
Well, this is a bigger influx than America's ever seen before. So it's going to be an impact in several areas. And just take voting, for instance,
okay,
in the 2022 election.
mm-hmm.
Uh, I'll give you some of the parameters of, we just had a presidential election down here.
Sure.
Okay. You get a cedula when you turn 18.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a driver's license in the U.S. It's got your picture on it. It's got your Ecuadorian ID number, your address, your description. It's got all that stuff on it. And it's called a cedula.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets one. You're required to have one.
Okay.
So they've got you on the list because everybody's got one. So they know who you are, where you are, and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So from 18 to 65 years old are required to vote.
Yeah.
In a national election. If you don't vote, they fine you like 40 or 50 bucks or something, which is a lot down here. That's a whole lot. Third world country. 16 and 17-year-olds are given the option. If they want to vote, they can vote, but they don't have to. But here, you're going to vote, and you're going to show that cedula picture ID when you go in to vote, and then they check your name off the list, and God bless you, vote. So that's how they keep up with it down here, which you would think it sounds simple.
How many people are in the country of Ecuador? What's the population size?
I do not know.
Well, a lot of things are simpler when things are smaller.
Well, I want to say it's like 9 million people, I think.
Well, we can.
And that's guessing. That's ballpark. I have no idea.
It's 17 million.
I'll have the answer for you next week.
It's 17 million according to the 2019 census.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Statistics.
Well, that's just the fast hands on Google. But when there are 330 million and there are 50 different states that govern their own bodies, it's not that simple. And
should be much more orderly.
I agree that it definitely needs to have more order.
It's easy. Why are we making it hard? Why do we make it hard?
Because our Constitution, if you'll look, the First Amendment says that we have a freedom of speech. Okay.
Okay.
So, well, that takes out.
What does that have to do with voting?
Okay. Freedom of speech means I don't have to give you my answer when it comes to, in our cases recently, voting on a douche or a turd, right? It's a scenario, which one's the shinier turd, as opposed to who's actually the best candidate for the job. So
I didn't ask you who you were voting for,
but you're making
so hard to go to vote.
330 million people. 330 million people. It's hard to wrangle that.
Only about 40% of the people actually turn out to vote.
Sure.
In an election.
Mm-hmm.
That's sad. That's sad.
That's America. You know, we have freedom of speech. If I don't want to vote, I don't have to. I know actually some people who don't vote. I mean, I know some people personally, they don't vote because they don't have a draft card and they just can't do it. You know, so people some of them aren't because they've chosen to not, join the draft, or they just are like, none of these two people are going to make any sort of difference, anyways. So that all comes down to freedom of choice. In Ecuador, that's not choice. You're forcing someone to do it under, as certain people would say, under the barrel of a gun, right? Because what happens if you don't pay the fine?
I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna lock you up for coming out of your house during curfew. I don't know if they, firing squad for not voting or whatever.
Well, the point being is a lot of the things that we have to look at here is, or one of the big things I should say is, you have a choice here, okay? But there are certain things that end in the barrel of a gun. What that means is not that they're going to shoot you, but that they're going to punish you or be punitive because you didn't do a thing. Like, you don't vote. That's $50. Okay, well, I don't know what the conversion rate here is versus what's $50 to them versus what's $50 to us. Even here nowadays, to some people, that's a crap ton of money for just what our forefathers thought is a human right of just either saying
That's
something
correct.
or shutting up.
Right.
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 So if I don't want to vote for X or Z or whomever, then that's my right as an individual. Because here's the thing, because it doesn't affect anybody else. Okay. Like, me not doing something is kind of where, like, the rights come into play, right? Where me not saying anything doesn't harm anybody else. Well, according to 17 million Ecuadorians or whomever makes those rules, you have to go out and vote. And it's a scenario where it's probably simpler to wrangle in 17 million people. But I would love to know what happens if you don't pay the money and don't vote. Because if it ends up in jail or something wild like that, well, what do? Hold you until you vote?
I don't know, on that same note, this past week there was a young man caught stealing a bicycle.
Okay.
And the neighborhood decided street criminal gets street justice.
Okay.
And they're going to do a purification. These people believe in purification of the mind and body and soul.
Mm-hmm.
So they stripped him down to his underwear.
His skivvy, sure.
Covered his head, tied his hands with a rope. They poured cold water on him, and they beat him with nettle branches. Now, I don't know what nettle branches are, but I don't want to beat with anything. But they flogged him with the nettle branches and the cold water because they consider that a purification. And then whispered in his ear, if they caught him again, it'd be worse next time. And actually, the police, the policia and the military were both on site because of enforcing curfew regulations.
Jeez. Yeah, I just showed the camera what a nettle is. That is insane.
Yes. And the funny, as you read down into the article, that was the second time in a week that had been done. They caught a lady stealing from a merchant, and they did the same thing to her. They stripped her down to her bra and panties and beat her with the nettles and cold water and covered the head and the whole thing. And they got pictures of both of them.
Well, capital punishment, I've heard
they
works.
turned her over to the police after they got finished with her.
Right.
And, don't let us catch you in this neighborhood again type situation. So it's for not voting. What they do to you. Yeah. I kind of keep my mouth shut because we're in the minority here.
Yeah.
Only 6.7% of Ecuador are Caucasian.
Okay.
6.7%
Sure.
of that 17 million or white folks. Yeah.
You're not looking super white nowadays.
No, I'm gonna be brown. I'm getting, we're all brown down here, bro. Trust me, we're all brown. Give us a minute, we'll all be brown.
Well, with as close as you are to the sun, I wouldn't be able to see any other way, except for myself. I would just explode
Yeah, you
into a
would
pile of
explode. Yeah,
ash. Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah, that's exactly
absolutely.
what I would be there. Yeah, it,
They're getting vaccinations in here, though. They got a whole shipment of vaccinations in here, which is helping things. They've got several countries that are donating and several companies that are donating here to try to
mhm.
get this vaccine going here because they're pretty behind the times on that part.
Do you know what
But
kind they are?
uh, they had Johnson and Johnson and Pfizer and Moderna. They had the same kinds
Oh,
that
okay,
were in
sure.
the U.S. But I know you told me you got vaccinated. Tell me about the process.
Yeah, I did. So I got vaccinated. I went onto our, government website. I had some friends of mine get theirs very early with certain means that I won't mention here, and we signed up online, or me and the mouse in my pocket, signed up online, and I'm not gonna lie, it was the most efficient process I've ever been through. We got signed up.
Really?
We had to go to Vol State Community College, which is about 10 minutes from us, and
Okay.
I went on a day I had off, which was it was probably around 1 o'clock. I was scheduled to get there at 1. I got there 15 minutes early, or no, 10 minutes early. They pull you up in the parking lot. They try to have, first shot people in one lane, second shot people in another, and then they come by, ask you who you are, hand you a pamphlet, a little documentation, a dossier there, telling you this is not FDA ultra mega regulated, but it's fine. Like it works well enough. If you have any issues or if you're pregnant, do not get this. And I'm look down. I'm like, well, maybe I don't know, but and
That's not
so
funny. Yes.
yeah, we're in our car, and in the car just chilling. They were super polite. We got looped around the entire campus. We had to drive around, and then they wrote something on my car with that little like marker that they put on like car lots and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they took us around. We got into 3 different lines for first shot people, and then it was like 2 different lines for second shot people because there wasn't as many of them. It didn't seem like, at least at the time that I went. They go through. They stop you at one part. You roll your sleeve up, and that's it. They say, okay, pull over here to the parking lot. You have to wait 15 minutes before
Ouch.
you leave to make sure there is no adverse reactions. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought to myself, I mean, luckily it was a nice day. It wasn't raining or anything crappy like that. But I'm thinking to myself, well, if I go down, well, they keep you in your cars, and if you fall, face forward or whatever, you're gonna land on your horn. So, you know,
That's how they know.
yeah, they have 2 or 3 people out there, just kind of roaming the parking lots, like looking at people, waving, making sure everyone's okay and stuff. Waited my 15 minutes. I got there at I think 12:50. My appointment was at 1, and I was back home within 45 50 minutes. It was incredible. They didn't ask for ID. I don't recall. They just said, "Hey, is this you?" There was something on our phone. It was a QR code. We had them scan that. They give us a card that says, they're like, okay, the one thing that's important here is you can't lose this card because if so, you won't be able to get your second shot. So, I got that in the wallet ready to go for the next time. But it was incredibly fast. No insurance required, no nothing. Go in, get it, and move on. So I thought that was
Free.
incredible. Oh yeah, 100%. You just all you had to do was
How
drive up
long
there.
before
So
the next one?
3 weeks. So you had to get your next shot scheduled. Like when I got it, like actually the guy who gave it to me said, "Look, you already have an email in your inbox right now. So when you drive away and get back home, you can sign up for your next one. You have to wait at least 3 weeks, to my knowledge, to get the second one. And then once you get that, I think it's like 2 weeks, and then you're golden. You're ready to go. From what I understand, we got or we were getting over at Ball State the Pfizer shot. So I thought that was kind of interesting because there's Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson, and a couple others. There's like 5 major ones, and there's stuff going around online. I know, I'm sure you don't know what Pokemon Go is, but it was humorous because it's almost like splitting people up into teams. And then so the people who get the Pfizer stuff feel like they're better than the Modernas and the Johnson and Johnsons and stuff like that based on the shot that we got. So yeah, a few of my buddies have gotten the Pfizer. I don't know of anybody else who's gotten any different ones. So that's kind of what is available around here that I'm aware of. So very
Right.
very efficient. And in terms of reactions and stuff like that, nothing at all. I wanted a nap afterwards, which was pretty easy going. Nothing too crazy. And then just chilling. So the next one I am not concerned about, but I am gonna. I did take off for the rest, like for half a day with that one because I'm gonna get it around noon, and then if it tears me up or something, then I can just be a vegetable like I plan on being anyways. So
Okay.
yeah, it's not bad. Have you signed up for anything down there?
No, sir. I have not.
Do you know if you're
Um,
actually able to?
no, sir.
Hmm,
I do not know.
gotcha.
Um, the last scan I had before I left the States, and I talked to my oncologist, she told me that I really didn't need to get one.
Oh, cool.
So I said, okay.
Yeah.
And she knew I was coming down here. So
Hmm,
she said it was strictly up to me. And I said, well, what would you do if you were me? And she said, and I wouldn't worry about it. And I said, okay, cool.
I got
So,
you. That's
you know,
that's not the first advice from doctors that I've heard saying I wouldn't worry about it or I would wait a while to get it to make sure that everything's good to go. And that's
she's
from
the same,
two different
she's the
people.
same doctor,
So,
my oncologist, that told me I shouldn't wear a mask
mm,
because your body is made to filter.
mm-hmm.
You filter liquids, you filter solids. Your body's a filtering machine. You filter your blood. Can't filter air if it's stifled. She said you'll recirculate the same garbage you're breathing in. You'll just recirculate the same garbage.
Yeah.
And she said it's not good for you.
Hmm.
And I asked her, could I get a note? And she said no. And I said, well, so I tried not to wear one as often as I
Mm-hmm.
could. I tried not to wear one because she just said it's just not good for you. It
I
having the medical history. So I said, yes, ma'am.
Well, I've definitely heard from some of my constituents that people who have that, some people have like a fake card or something, or have some form of like doctor's note that says, I don't need to be wearing a mask. And they kind of scoffed at that. And I thought, well, I mean, they definitely aren't anywhere close to medically trained. And watching,
Right.
John Oliver or Don Lemon or somebody like that saying, quit listening to these people. I did enjoy the rant from, I wasn't, I don't think it was Don Lemon. I don't know their names well enough, but they were talking about the CDC just released a new chart and new protocols stating if you're vaccinated and you can go maskless at like 2 events that nobody's going to go to anyways, even if they were or weren't vaccinated, mask or mask off or whatever, because people are obviously losing the ability to tolerate a lot of this. And it was humorous to me because you know people will back what is it, the WHO, the CDC, all sorts of different entities that we perceive as the what do you call it? The authorities on this sort of thing. And then they're going to be flip floppity. Well, then that makes people upset because new research comes out, new data comes out, and and then it just gets on people's nerves, and people start flip flopping on what they want to listen to and who they're happy with or mad at the from one week or one day or 1 hour to another, and it's something that's incredibly humorous to me because we're we want to listen to science, but we also know that science takes a long time, and we also know that you get new information and then you can change your opinions, or factually you can start to make different arguments. Where if people are saying right now, in July, if we have, let's say, 75-80% vaccination, people are still going to have to limit their gathering and mask up. And it's a scenario where people are just going to say, this is insanity, because we didn't do it with the flu or certain things like that. So why are we doing it with this particular strain of whatever,
So they can keep control. So
maybe
they can keep control on everybody. Yeah. Yeah. If I got a vaccine, why would I want to wear a mask? If I'm vaccinated, you said good to go. I should be good to go.
Yeah.
Down here, everybody's masked up.
Sure.
We take the taxi a lot or the bus. Everybody's masked up.
Yeah.
Everybody down here's got a mask. I mean, we were downtown yesterday, and they were walking around outside, outside on the sidewalks and all that kind of stuff, and everybody's got a mask on outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't want to wear one outside, but I'm not from here, so I kept my mask on and kept my mouth shut.
I was going to say, you better not rock the boat when you're.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not going to. But now, when I sat down at the open air sidewalk cafe, I took it off.
Yeah.
So that I could eat.
Well, which, I mean, most people are going to do that,
Right, but it's everybody's masked up down here. I mean, everybody. Cab drivers, and the cab drivers have a sheet of plexiglass between the front and the back, and all that kind of stuff. So,
well, it's a scenario where I would say in a lot of other countries, the folks don't think that it is imposing on your liberties to ask someone, hey, just wear a mask. Because from what I hear, and we talked about this a little bit, I think last time or over the phone, where, the mask is so you don't spread your germs around, not so much collecting anybody else's, right?
Right.
But we utilize masks in such a way where I don't think everybody is throwing away their operation or, their surgical mask when they get home and getting a new one. Or especially, like me, I'm probably one of the worst where I'll wear the same bandana for a week, as my mask. And it's not doing me it's probably not doing me as good as it should because I'm not taking the proper precautions. But I would assume that I'm like many others, and we're not washing our mask every day, or we're not putting it through industrial solvents or whatever that's going to disinfect it. So, we are doing it to, I don't want to say appease people, but to not rock the boat. Because
these people down here are too poor to buy more masks.
Sure.
So I can guarantee you they're wearing the same one forever.
Right.
And they don't sell the what do they call the things that go around your neck that you can pull up?
Oh, like the neck gaiters and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't sell those down here and they won't let you on the aircraft with one. They give you a mask to wear.
Like a straight up mask.
Wear those.
Okay.
Yeah, and they don't sell the neck things down here. They're all around the ear.
It's all straight mask. Yeah. Yeah.
Straight mask.
Well, and
now, they might tie behind the head.
Yeah.
Or snap or Velcro behind the head. They might have something like that, but yeah, it's straight mask up, baby.
Well, I mean, unless they're N95s, which I know people down there, and even most people up here, they're not wearing N95 masks that actually have an air filter on it that you have to change out all the time and whatnot. They're not doing that because it's, for one, it's too costly, and two, it's like the internet meme. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah,
So,
the airlines are talking about backing off on the mask, type situations because
yeah.
with the HEPA filters they have in there, and they're filtering the air every couple of minutes and stuff. It's one of the safest places you can be. Of course, everybody had to be tested, haven't present a negative test before they got on the plane. You
Mm-hmm.
had to be tested within 72 hours of getting on the flight.
Makes
So
sense.
everybody
Yeah.
there was freshly swabbed.
Well,
And
and that's a scenario where you can make it one of the safer spots, right? Because you're filtering the air all the time. You're
right.
actively seeking to say, "Hey, you're not getting on, getting on, like get off my plane," because your papers aren't in
Yeah.
order, right? So
Yeah.
I can understand that. One thing that that kind of reminds me of, and we'll kind of hop back to the voting thing a little bit, is voter registration. Okay, like voter ID. I'm sure you've heard stuff about that recently, where you have to have an ID to cash a check, get on a plane, do so many other things. So why do you not have to have one where when you vote in certain
I
states?
understand.
You know,
I make perfect sense.
it's interesting to me that um, as I was researching, like looking over that topic and whatnot, there's a few things where people would be, air quotes, disenfranchised to vote because either they don't have access to the technology to either do it online, they might not have the money to get one. One of the things I saw that I thought was pretty interesting was actually transgender people being disenfranchised because they were in an area where they weren't allowed to put like other on their, sex, like biological sex or whatever it was, where
Right.
they select that. So, all of these things are very nuanced because everyone's sets of circumstances are different, right? And that's one thing where, and that will even lead kind of back into the first topic, which where's the country going? Well, everyone has access to spew whatever message they want, whether or not it's credible or whether or not it's just emotion driven, and it can be pretty scary because the right person at the right time can start something that will get out of control very quickly, you know.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of rights and things like that, how do you feel about a no knock warrant? Like I'm knocking down Rudy Giuliani's door the other night, uh, and coming in there with the SWAT team to seize all of his electronics.
Well, what is humorous is a lot of these things are cloud based nowadays, anyways. So if you're trying to see somebody's technological stuff, I mean, they have ways of shutting down the capturing of certain information. Now, do I appreciate or condone no knock warrants and stuff like that? Not in the slightest. However, I do know there are certain circumstances where people will delete evidence or kind of be shafted. But I mean, do you not think they didn't know that was coming? Somebody didn't tip them off or something like that. It a lot of
Well,
these
he,
things.
he offered all of his electronics a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't take it. And he's just a wealth of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and they took everything except the hard drives for Hunter Biden's laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Don't you want these? What are those?" He said, "These are the hard drives for Hunter Biden's laptop." No, 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 we don't want them. What? He asked them three times. Three times. Don't you want these hard drives? It's part of the warrant, which was illegitimate, to seizing my electronics. And they told him no, and they left them.
How do you know that the warrants were illegitimate?
Because he's an attorney and he's explained it all out. I don't know all the legal details and stuff, but um, first of all, it was a Pfizer warrant, and Pfizer is for foreign countries,
Okay.
foreign nationals. It's not for local It's not for Americans. It's not for people in country.
Hmm.
That was
Okay.
the first problem with it. It was the Pfizer warrant, and
Hmm.
it wasn't. It was the wrong warrant for the wrong stuff. And he said they were nice and professional and everything, and they treated him real nice and stuff. But they got perturbed when he asked them three times,
Mm-hmm.
did they want to take these hard drives, and they refused to take them.
Hmm.
And he was trying to make them take them so that they could be in possession of them because he's had them all this time and tried to give them to several people. But I don't understand how these people that are making tens of thousands of dollars, like Hunter Biden or Joe Biden or whoever, and nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody. Well, we've convened a special counsel. That's crap, man. That's crap. Nobody's doing anything about the corruption and the lawlessness in Washington, D.C. and the rest of this country right now. Nobody's doing anything about it.
Hmm.
And it's pretty frustrating.
I
Now,
mean,
I'm not in the country,
right.
and that's not why I left, but I see that. And it's got to be frustrating to the people in country. I was reading the other day because I was in trucking for 17 years. They can't get enough tanker drivers
Hmm.
to deliver fuel.
Hmm.
So the price of fuel is going to go up
Right.
because
All
they're
right.
having to pay drivers more and the drivers are having to work more. So the price of fuel will go up because they don't have enough drivers to deliver the fuel
That'll be
or to
kind of
drive the
interesting.
tankers and have hazmat license and
Yeah.
CDLs and things like that. All that's involved.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and to get a hazmat license is like getting a handgun permit. You have to go through the training. You got to take the test, and then you got to do the fingerprints. You got to do the background check. Because I was grandfathered in because I'd had my hazmat endorsement and my tanker endorsement for a long time, but I didn't renew it when it expired.
Sure.
One, because you're going to have to go into the scales more often because they double check that stuff. If you're carrying a hazardous material load,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to stop you at scale every time. Your license, to renew your license, is about $150 extra to renew your license. And you don't really get that much more money carrying a hazardous load as you would a regular load of freight. So,
well, maybe that'll change as the demand goes up, right? But
I hope it does. But watch for your fuel prices to start to escalate with the shortage of drivers.
They've already gone. I mean, it's already gone up by $1. I mean,
sure.
it already cost $1 more, and that was almost from what I could tell, since I don't drive around a whole lot. It was like, okay, Trump's out of office. Okay, now gas is more expensive.
Shut down the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah.
And we were energy independent when Trump was in there, and now.
Well, I'm just looking for everything going to solar or nuclear or electric is kind of what I'm waiting for, because do I think we need to operate on fossil fuels? No, I don't think so. I think we're smarter and better than that, and don't necessarily have to do that. And if we have other alternatives, then let's give them a try. I don't think it's anything or anywhere near the Green New Deal or anything like that, but I definitely do think there are better alternatives, and there's better way to get energy and what travel and stuff like that. I mean, one thing that I thought was interesting is, I mean, there's been so many people working from home or just not working for such a long while that is gas also going back up as well because people are using it more? You know what I mean? Like the demand's starting to get a little bit higher and a little bit higher and a little bit higher, and then it'll kind of go back to where it was, pre-Trump, where it was going to be $3 and change or something like that, and sometimes even $4, and that's around Tennessee. That's not anywhere else in the country. Which I think I saw in California, it was up to like $8 or something like that a gallon. It was just
Really.
something kind of crazy where you see some really insane fuel prices. But then again,
It's like a
you
dollar
know,
35 a gallon here.
that's exciting.
And there's a guy that pumps it for you like the old days. You
Hmm.
pull up, hand the guy the money, tell him
Hmm.
how much you want. He puts it in, psh, off you go.
Hmm.
Pretty incredible.
Kind of different. Yeah.
Yeah, the bus drivers here went on strike,
Oh wow.
and they said their demand was either you drop the diesel fuel price back down to $1 a gallon, or let us raise our fare up from 50 cents to
Mm-hmm.
like 60 cents.
Huh.
Yeah, let that sink in for a second.
Well, to
Yeah.
me, that doesn't seem like a free market economy. It seems, but maybe it is. I'm not smart enough to know that like how that all works. But if you're having to, fight the government for what your prices are going to be, that's to me doesn't seem like a very capitalist place. But I don't know how it works down there. So
I don't either. I get on the bus and pay my 50 cents
and move on.
and sit, I sit in the back of the bus. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Until I've been out in the sun a little more, and then I might sit in the middle. So,
the further you get along in terms of just being there, you're like, I'm gonna move up a little bit. Move up a little.
yeah, I'll
Move
move
up
up
a
a
little
little bit,
bit. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll stop for you. You don't have to be at a bus stop. They'll stop along the
Oh,
side of the highway
really?
for you.
Wow.
Yes, sir. But when your foot comes up off that pavement, you better be holding on to something
Mm-hmm.
because they're moving.
Oh yeah.
And they're all,
Yeah.
everything down here is a standard shift. Even the buses
Okay.
are standard shift. And a lot of your pickup trucks are diesel.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Based
Which was,
on based on your experience, does a standard shift last longer, or does an automatic last longer?
the, I think an automatic lasts longer because it doesn't, I don't want to say doesn't have as many moving parts, but it doesn't have as many integral parts that are meshing and all that stuff all the time, like
Mm-hmm.
your clutching and your
Right.
shifting and your synchronizers and all that kind
And
of
there's
stuff.
no bad people like myself who would try to grind the clutch into the
Oh,
ground.
these guys, they've got it down. They've got it down pat.
Yeah.
But your vehicles down here don't lose their value at all. I looked at a
Damn.
90. Yeah, that's what I said. I looked at a 94 Ford Bronco,
Mm-hmm.
and they two-door, and they wanted 10 grand for it. 94, and it probably had 72 million miles on it.
Yeah, because my car right now, what the Blue Book value of it for just personal selling is like 4. A 2010
Right.
Charger. That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
But
Oh, they're and
uh,
they just don't lose their value. Now, the regulations, because I looked into them, because I was going to bring the Expedition down here,
oh yeah,
but
yeah.
vehicles can't be over 5 years old if you're going to bring them down here. And then you got to drain all the fluids out
Yeah.
of them, and you got to pay the tariffs and the duty and all this stuff for
Oh, yeah.
have them shipped down here. Yeah. So
They
it
ain't
was like,
playing.
well, no, they're gonna reach in your pocket. But we've talked to some Canadian friends that we've made down here, and they bought electric scooters,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were $1,200 a piece. Well, you don't have to wear a helmet, you don't have to have an operator license, and you don't have to have a license plate.
Oh, that's pretty convenient. No license,
So
no
you just
plates, no
get on
nothing.
that baby and turn the key and
No.
twist and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
There you go.
yeah, so we're looking into that. Going over with the pickup truck to the big city, to Guayaquil,
Got it,
where
yeah.
the international airport is, and it's about 85 miles away. With a pickup truck over there, going over and buying a couple of them and coming back, because then it gives you a freedom where you're not standing out in the sun melting,
Yeah.
waiting on a cab or a bus to stop. You just get on your thing and you go get your stuff. Put your milk crate on there, bungee it to the back seat. and go
Yeah.
get your groceries and put them in the back and, go to the store.
Sure.
We're about 9.5 kilometers from the store.
Yeah.
We go
What?
down, get
What?
what we want,
Yeah. What's that in
come
miles?
back. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're probably, it's right at 10 miles probably to the store, to the
Mm.
grocery store. So,
Yeah, well, that you getting the scooters, I could see you and Pat on the scooters, hopping on, and then y'all each have something like the grocery bags on the scooter arms, the little
oh
handles,
yeah, absolutely.
and
Yeah,
then
bags hanging from our
yeah, yeah,
arms on both sides.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm going to put a basket on the back of mine or on the front,
Yeah,
and get a little squeeze ball, one
yep.
of those squeeze
Worker,
ball
worker.
horns.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, one of those.
That'd be cool. That reminded me of somebody down in chat. They had their bicycle, and that's what they did. They had their bags on the front on the handlebars, and then they had like two, excuse me, I don't, like saddlebag kind of things that they, I was like, that's
They used
awesome.
to make
You
saddle.
know,
They made saddle baskets.
yeah,
When I
yeah,
was
it
growing
was
up, they
like
had
that.
saddle
Yeah.
baskets that you could hook on there, hooked into the
Hmm.
fender, and then you mounted them on the axle, and you could put stuff in both sides.
Right.
Put your school books or stuff in both either side of them and stuff.
Hmm.
So
That's pretty
that's
cool.
pretty.
So.
We're trying to figure it out and see what we want to do. I just want to. I know it sounds crazy, but I just want to get a vehicle and drive insane like these cats do. These cats down here, I'm telling you, I watched a bus pass a cement mixer
Hmm.
on a double yellow line doing about 60 with oncoming traffic coming. And I was like, this is great. I mean, it's great.
Ain't no way,
So,
man.
yeah, oh man, it's really something. You got to see it. You got to see it in person.
I mean,
Which you've seen.
I've
You've,
been down there, but
yeah, you've seen
it's something else. Well, like so when we were on the bus, when we're hopping on the buses and stuff like that, um, I wasn't paying attention to what was going on outside because a lot of the buses that we saw, they're very heavily tinted because they know the sun will just scorch anybody alive, no matter how long you've been there,
it. Right.
and I'm trying to remain a cellar cricket as much as I can, so I was just chit chatting and or um, what do you call it? Failing at interacting with the opposite sex. That was super fun. So,
Yeah.
but if I don't speak your language, it's very difficult. So,
It is. It's really difficult down here. We're trying to. Pat's doing a little course every morning, and then she's meeting Nancy every Wednesday
oh, cool.
at the food court,
Mm-hmm.
so they can. She's going to teach Nancy English, and Nancy's going to teach her Spanish
Right, right.
on
That'll be sweet.
Wednesdays, like at 1 o'clock or something on Wednesday afternoons or something. And I'm doing my babble in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're working on it.
Well, it's one day at a time. One thing I thought that would be fun for this was you come on with either a phrase or a word that you've learned that week or that past week or whatever, and just say it in Spanish. And I'm like, oh well, there you go. Like we can see your
Cinco de
progress.
Mayo. Cinco de Mayo
Yeah,
today.
that's
Oh,
exactly
yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
hey, Cinco de Mayo, man.
Hola, which is hello. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, there it is. Yeah,
I've learned Buenos dias, which is good morning.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, what I really enjoyed down there was, of course, because if you pay attention, you're going to pick things up very quickly, and
sure.
they would shorten Buenos dias to Buenos. And that was awesome
Mhm.
because I was like, oh, perfect. And then I'm like, cool, I know what's going on. Look at me. And then, of course, they start speaking very quickly because they're like, oh, this guy knows something. And I'm like, no, 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 don't be fooled. I can just know enough to get get us back to the airport or my butt kicked, depending on the situation. So
There you go.
it'd be something like I would start speaking like what is it? What is her name? Debbie Hill, Hank Hill's wife, where it's like Los Estudiantes, sos mis amigos. People be like, Psh, get
Yeah.
out of
There
here.
you go.
So I need to be polishing up on my Spanish as well. So I need to get your login to Babelfish. But the problem is that I don't want to surpass your lessons and then get you screwed up. So I need to figure that out.
I just go in and review and start again. and do the same thing sometimes over and over
Well,
until I
and
try to get it straight.
one thing you could do as well. I mean, with YouTube out there, you could just hop on, start looking up lessons, and then see what you got to do. Because for the most part, the technology and your friends and stuff like that will get you around where you need to go. But if you're wanting to have actual, like more in depth conversations with people like that, then definitely going to need some conversational skills and know a lot more in
Right.
terms of the intricacies
And
of
there's a
what's going
formal and
on.
informal, and
Right.
and I'm not going to meet anybody formal. I mean,
Sure.
unless
Sure.
I go to the ministry to talk to them about visas and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and then I'm hoping I'll have a legal representation
Yeah,
that'll
I was
take
going to
care of
say,
that.
just make sure you're using your usted instead of
Yeah, yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
other thing
yeah.
is.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, for sure. that that happens. Are you finding that?
And
Oh,
my flag is falling in the back, so that means
I I thought that was kind of a like a fun little trope that we'll have in all of our things is eventually the flag will come down. Like start to
yeah.
fall each
I'm
time.
not going to put it back up if it's going to
Yeah.
fall down every time. And these are concrete walls,
Oh, okay.
so you're using double-sided tape that's not worth.
I
Never
gotcha.
mind,
I gotcha.
and
That's
so it won't
understandable.
hold up.
Well,
So
well,
yeah,
you got to use concrete down there, right? Because the ocean's gonna tear the salty air is gonna tear up everything
it
else, right?
it eats up the concrete too, for sure.
Yeah.
It does for sure.
Well, hey, what can you do?
Nothing.
Gotta. Are you finding that many things down there are like that? And what I mean by that is, like the power strip. If one socket works and one doesn't, or are you finding that there are certain things that they're not kept up with very well, or
A lot of inferior product
okay,
and inferior workmanship,
mm.
I guess I should say. And it could be, and it's not that they don't work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that the people down here don't work hard. Everybody goes to work every day.
Right.
There's no EBT, there's no food stamps, there's no freebies down here. Everybody goes to work and does something every day, or you don't eat, or you don't have a roof over your head. Interestingly enough, some of your houses, when you put a roof on it, you have to start paying property tax.
Okay.
Okay. Which, $90, $100 a year, that's a lot. That's
Yeah.
a lot down here. It's a lot. When your minimum wage here is $400 a month,
Okay.
let that sink in.
Well, yeah,
So
but if a thing of eggs is $1, like
you'll see a lot of houses with no roofs on them. They'll be 2-story, but you'll see the rebar sticking up and
sure.
the concrete walls will be up and stuff, and there'll be no roof on them, but they'll be living in. So
Does everyone just stay downstairs? Like,
yeah, they just live downstairs and put holes in it for the drains,
huh?
and the water drains off
The second floor,
roof.
yeah,
Yeah,
which is
off
their
the
roof.
floor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and it rains every day, every night. It'll rain every night for like January and February.
Mm-hmm.
Every night. And when you wake up every morning, the next morning, everything is just Goomba. It's just goulash and muddy, and everything's really bad.
Yeah.
And then it won't rain the other 10 months out of the year. It doesn't rain.
How
Today it was overcast all day, and it was like 78 degrees overcast, and there was a mist in the air. Now I don't know if it's a mist off the ocean or if it's a mist coming out of the sky, but. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I stayed here.
How many days have you been down there?
How many days?
Mm-hmm.
I came down the 13th of April.
So almost a month. There you go.
So, yeah, close to.
Not
next
bad.
week. Next
Not
week it'll be
bad.
a month. I've been down here a little over 3 weeks.
Wow.
So
still able to keep your wits about you then, eh?
we had been down here 5 times before we came down here.
Yeah.
For good. So I knew what to expect. I knew what it was going to be like.
I got you.
So
is everything still functioning down there correctly? Like, internet, any sort of like cable or any services?
Oh yeah,
like that?
that was another thing. We opted for NetLife, N-E-T, NetLife cable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they came to install it, and they didn't have anything to attach it to.
Oh, there was no
So,
cable box or anything like that.
oh, there's no poles.
Ah.
So there had to be 2 poles put in
Mm-hmm.
so that they had something to attach. They've got fiber optic cable, and it's new,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
good.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guardian, Andreas, on site security guardian, landscape, whatever you need him to do, guy, he put in 2 poles so that they could put in the internet.
Oh wow.
And they drill holes in the wall,
Yeah,
they just
go
concrete
at it.
drill bit, drill a hole in the wall and stick the cord through the hole. But it's pretty funny because we were sitting out on the front porch, and Pat looked down there and she said, "I wonder what that's plugged in." And I said, "I don't know," because something was plugged in, and it was sitting on the railing of the front porch,
Mm,
and it had a plastic bag over it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she walked down there and looked at it. It was bungeed to the hand railing.
Mm.
She walked down there and looked at it, and it was a router.
Oh, okay.
So we weren't here when they installed the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave the password to Andreas, the
guardian down
security
there.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that lives on site. So he's bootlegging the internet.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, he's bootlegging the guy next door's electricity,
Mm.
and he's bootlegging our internet unless we go in at some point and change the password.
Well,
But it hadn't slowed anything down. It hadn't made a difference. So
sure.
we
No,
we don't care.
I'm pretty impressed that we're able, like, you've got as good a quality of stuff down there as you have. That's pretty cool. Also, it looks like your hair's getting lighter too. That's kind of wild. Oh, it's
not really.
just the light. Okay.
Yeah, it's the overhead light.
Yeah, I got you.
The hair hadn't changed. I told her I was going to make it be dark, make all this be dark.
There you go. Try to fool
Try
somebody.
to be
yeah.
like Juan Valdez or something, Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. You have to let me know how that goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it. That'd be funny. Okay. Well, okay, Val, or Mr. Valdez, will.
That's Juan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they say. It takes one to know one. Little far side
like
joke
that.
for you.
I like that.
And anybody who is named Juan will hate it.
I might not always lose stuff, but when I do, it usually means my wife has put it somewhere.
Oh, yeah. That's super exciting and a fun note to end on. Okay, well,
There you go.
This has been the Jaye Thomas Podcast, Episode 2, The Future. And we'll see y'all next time.